Hey guys, Three and Out has its own YouTube channel, and we plan on doing coward type numbers. Here's the key. If you're watching this, you like our content, make sure you subscribe. Subscribe to the page, leave a comment, interact with our stuff. We do stuff on this page on a daily basis. 365. Three and Out podcast right here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe right now. There's nothing like during the bowl games, especially the bigger bowl games, when you have these famous coaches and they're getting ready for, especially in the playoffs, these massive games, but it's like pictures of Saban and Harbaugh and Mickey Mouse. It's just, it's the best, it's hard to beat. That photo going around this week is as good as it gets. You don't get that in the NFL, besides on Super Bowl week when it's very forced. In college, it feels like kind of natural. They're all enjoying themselves, even as they're getting ready for it's probably one of the biggest games Jim Harbaugh has ever played. It would definitely be one of his biggest wins of his career. And Saban, this is just another year. So let's start with the college football playoffs. That I guess is Monday, and I saw, the NFL. I guess they've been doing this now. We'll record this on Thursday, last Thursday night game of the year. There's no Monday night football. They basically concede. Now, part of it is I think ESPN has the playoffs. So the playoffs, those two games get to dominate. Let's start with the first one. I don't
probably
have
the only thing that could dominate over any NFL game. Which is...
I do think the NFL just, in a weird way, they work with college football, right? Like they take advantage when college ends and they start going Saturdays.
Yeah.
And then on that one, they don't try to attack. Like they've gone after Adam Silver and they've treated him like the mafia, treats people they want to get rid of, and they've annihilated them. I watched basketball, grew up on Michael Jordan. I didn't watch one dribble, not one dribble on Christmas Day.
Yeah, I grew up watching basketball. My first sport I started was college basketball. Dad's an enormous NBA fan. The Sixers, I think the Sixers were on. The Sixers were
they were on.
And I was over at my dad's. TV didn't change from NFL from start to finish. I didn't see one dribble either. I think it got
the Birds were on though.
What's that?
The Eagles were on similar
time. The Eagles were on, but even luckily I didn't have to fight anybody. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna be in Philly. The Ravens Niners are on. Someone tries to put the Sixers game on, there's gonna be some blood. But yeah, I think there was like 35 million were like the average NFL games, and then NBA are like 1 to 2. So yeah, that NBA monopoly on Christmas might be going away. But there's
next year's Tuesday, and they claim they're not going to do it. We'll see.
Yeah, well, we had a Good Friday game this year, so Tuesday's next. I think there's only been one Tuesday game in NFL history. It was like a snow. Joe Webb beat the Eagles with the.
I worked for the Eagles.
During that game?
Yeah. And that was
no way.
Brett Favre had just been injured. And I'll never forget, Favre, had come to see Marty and Andy, and he was walking. And, I was kind of numb to it by then. You've been going to these games, been around these guys. You're not. And I remember seeing Brett Favre walk down the hallway. And for the first time in a long time, I just kind of got started. I couldn't say anything. He's like,
yeah,
how you doing? And I just I didn't even have a statement back. And he walked right into Andy's office. And then we lost to, like you said, Joe Webb in if I remember correctly, the storm was fucking outrageous. Yeah. It was supposed to be Sunday. It was supposed to be Sunday Night Football, and I think got pushed back a couple days.
Yeah, it got pushed back 2 days. I think the Eagles needed the win, or it was an important game.
I think it cost us, if I remember correctly, I think it cost us the number 1 seed, maybe. If that was 2010, if it was 2011, it was definitely a devastating loss. But 2010, we made the playoffs and lost to Rodgers the year he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, all my friends I grew up with are diehard Eagles fans, and that Joe Webb is like a bad word. In those circles, like don't pull.
I think that was the year after. I think that was Favre's last year in the NFL. It was the year after Minnesota had that devastating loss to the Saints, so it would have been 2010.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's quick. Any final thoughts? Like I've been saying, I think I'm going to go pretty heavy on Washington. I felt pretty good about that. I'm just betting on the coach. They have a lot of NFL players. That game makes me nervous. I mean, it could be a high scoring, just an elite football game. The Harbaugh Saban thing, I be honest, I'm rooting for Jim Harbaugh. I would like to see him win a national championship, but I've rooted for him for many years, and I've last year I was all in on him, and then he kicks you in the nuts and he loses the game to TCU, and I just it's hard. Nick Saban. Now this has got to be. I have a lot of NFL friends early on in the season that were like, "Bro, he's going to go 8-4. This is the least talented team he's had of all of his like national championship level teams." And I think it's one of his finest coaching jobs. Now, Milroe, it depends who you get. Do you get the guy against Georgia who was making a ton of plays, or do you get the guy against Auburn that beside that final throw was, let's face it, mostly bad? And I have a hard time. Like, I truly believe this. Like, Jim Harbaugh's had a lot of big wins. They're against like Mike McCarthy, Mike Smith, beating Nick Saban, I think you could argue would be right up there with one of the biggest wins of his coaching career.
Massive. Yeah, he's 0-6 in his last 6 bowl games as well.
Jesus.
A little in their head too. So I'm curious to see how they come out, because they've been talking about like changing up everything. Let's do less. They were saying how Mike McDonald, the now defensive coordinator, is I think one of the best already in the NFL. When he was there, they were talking this week how we went too deep. And McDonald was saying like they were going back to like when they were playing Georgia, they went back to like 2009, 2012 Georgia. We're watching like every snap, trying to find like a little nugget of something so they're kind of taking a more like basic, let's focus on us approach. So
how'd that work out for him against Georgia? Pretty well.
Yeah, not well. So I'm interested because it's definitely like a talking point in there. They're aware of it. I like Michigan here, but I will say it's a very difficult game to handicap. Usually at this point in the season, with 2 top 5 teams playing each other in the college football playoff, I have a really good idea of who both teams are. But Michigan just didn't. They had injuries, and they really didn't play anybody. Like, you played Ohio State, you played Penn State. Just doesn't win big games, but their non-conference was nothing. The rest of the Big Ten was so bad.
They had the signs. They had the other team's signs, and now they no longer do.
That's another key point that I just don't know how much it's worth. Alabama also hired one of their ex-coaches, which is really,
I saw that.
So yeah, that's a wrench in here as well. But this, just from like I think that this month off is going to help. Besides the point that you have Saban with a month to prepare has always been great. But you have Corum, Edwards, who might be like their most talented player. They haven't been fully healthy all year. They were hurt last year. Their offensive line had to deal with the loss of Zinter, as one of the best guards in the country. McCarthy's been dealing with an injury. So I think like they can get healthier, get the offensive line together, and they're going to be able to run it a bit on Alabama. They're not going to be able to drop back. So if this game if they can't run it, that's the handicap of this game. If Michigan can't get a push and can't run it, the game is over.
You hate their tackles, huh?
Yeah, their tackles can't. Braswell and Turner, you're not going to protect them. If you're consistently in 3rd and 8, the game's over. They're not going to be able to drop McCarthy back. But if they can, stay ahead of the chains, and I think McCarthy's legs could be big here. And I think you might see like Edwards flash if he's fully healthy. Because this Bama team, look, they're another team that they're hard to crack. I mean, this is a team that benched Milroe at one point in the season. It was like 6-3 at South Florida in the 4th quarter. You go back, so their body of work is very bizarre. They came on at the end of the year, but they still should have lost to Auburn if Auburn doesn't spy the quarterback on 4th and 30. They beat Arkansas at home by 3. It was a bad Arkansas team. They beat Texas A&M by 6. So they were in, I think it went 5-0 in 1 possession games.
Stuckey, I watched that game. Honestly, Jimbo fucked up a couple times in short yardage situations. Yep. They easily could have lost that game.
The field goal at the end at the 1 yard.
Easily could have lost.
So this team, it came on. The defense is really talented. They have 2 extremely talented.
15, the pass rusher is good.
Yeah, pass rushers. The secondary has come on because it's very talented and young. So it's going to be tough for Michigan to consistently get separation with their receivers. They're going to have to get a little creative, but it all starts with the run game. I think they're going to be able to run it. I mean, we saw Auburn have success doing it. We've seen some teams get a push on this Alabama defense. And you have a month to prepare to basically say, okay, we need to take away Milroe's legs. you got to spy the shit out of him. Georgia actually used 2 spies and took away his legs. Might see that. And then you got to take away the explosive pass play. And because Milroe he has, I think, per PFF, 20 big-time throws, no turnover where he plays. He is arguably the best single season of deep throws in college football history. Now, he can't throw it in the intermediate range. He can, but he will make a couple mistakes. He still struggles with accuracy, and he still struggles with reading defenses. So I think that they can confuse him into a mistake or two. This total is down to 44. It's going to be a lower scoring game. Both teams are going to play slow. Both have good punters that can flip the field. I think both teams are going to say, let's not try to make a mistake early. So I think it's going to be lower scoring. I think the difference is Milroe makes a key mistake or two. But I will admit, I bet Michigan, but it's a tough game to handicap. And I really think I believe from everything that I dug into that Michigan is going to be able to run it now that they're getting healthier and figure out the offensive line. But it's not a foregone conclusion. And like I said, if they can't, unless Milroe has a disastrous day, then it's over, because then you're gonna be getting sacked. You're gonna get probably some McCarthy fumbles, because you cannot sit in 3rd and 8 all day. Even against Iowa, they couldn't block Iowa. You saw it against Penn State. They didn't even attempt to pass in the second half. Alabama has more talented edge rushers. I mean, right up there with Penn State.
Yeah.
But I would say a little more talented. So that's the key to the game. You'll know in the first quarter, are they getting a push? Is McCarthy's legs, is Edwards look healthier? And can they get, traction on 1st and 2nd down? If they can, I think Michigan wins. That's what I bet. But I think it'll be a close, low-scoring game. Like, I think it's going to be 20, 20-17 type of game. So I would lean under, but I did bet Michigan. I think that they're going to be able to run the ball. Miller makes a key mistake or two, and that's the difference. But I could be sitting at a bar next to you and telling you all this and going on my rants and start rambling, and then you could say, yeah, but it's Saban with a month to prepare, and then I'd be like, oh, well, you're right. So you got the greatest coach of all time with a month to prepare. So yeah, I think it's a fascinating game. I played Michigan. It's not my favorite bet of all time, but I think Michigan's actually going to get it done. This Alabama flirting with disaster. It's not. You look at their backfield, their wide receivers. It's not like your older brother's Alabama team as far as talent at the skill positions, and I think that's the difference.
To me, one curveball always with Alabama in this stretch. Now, they have had a lot more veteran teams, and for them that means juniors, is when you have younger players, that are 4 and 5 stars, that are elite talents. That 30 days is like they can make improvements, right, with Nick. Where Michigan, their team kind of is what it is. All these guys are going to the NFL. It's more just like implementing the game plan and how do we beat them. Like, where Nick's kind of doing a double whammy. He's working on these guys that are all going to be, a lot of them his starters next year, right? And trying to have them improve. I mean, is Jalen Milroe going to be their quarterback next year?
It's not a foregone conclusion. I mean, the way that he's closed the year, he's the favorite, but
you never know. And that's the way it is with a lot of these positions, that there's so much talent that it's just hard. No one knows. Even Nick doesn't know how these guys are going to respond. We've seen them be in positions and their guys ball out. We've seen them be in positions a couple of years ago. Remember after Mechie and Jameson got hurt and the receivers were terrible. And then after the season ends, he basically kicks them all off the team and gets a whole new group. So it's pretty cutthroat there. It's like a fucking NFL team. So I'm with you there. And I don't feel great on either side. I just can't wait to watch in the night game. Fucking love Washington. I think that has a chance just to be an elite football game. Both these two games, which is nice. Glad we avoided Florida State. I know they're bitching and moaning right now, but this is going to be fun. Okay, the NFL.
Yeah. By the way, I think both are field goal games. And just to throw it out, Washington, Texas, scary. Another scary one. Fade Saban. I like the under. I don't mind your Washington bet. I think it's going to be played slower. Not going to be a lot of explosive plays. That's how Texas played. Well, they played in the bowl game last year. It was 27-20, even with a lot of yards. I think there's going to be some red zone stops. The Washington defense has come on of late. They have this guy, Durfee. Remember this name? Zach Durfee. Apparently, he's been ripping up their practices. He wasn't eligible all year. He's like an NAIA guy, but he hasn't been eligible all year. But now the NCAA changed this transfer rule, so he's going to play. I've been reading these Washington messages where they're like he's going to have like 2 to 3 sacks. I don't know how much he's going to play, but he's this. He's going to play for the first time this season. Apparently, he's just like an absolute freak. But Washington plays slow. Texas doesn't play particularly fast. I think Washington's defense is trending up. I actually like the under. I think both games are going to end in field goal though. Can't wait. But yeah, let's get on the NFL.